We are apparently having problems with our satellite transmission. We apologize for that, and we're working on it. Crucial stages of the match, of course, with Pete Sampras leading in this game 15-30. It's 3-5 to Sampras in the second set. And break point. Also second set point now at 15-40 for Pete Sampras. The fiery one, Fred Stolle, was at one point a radio commentator. I wonder if you were with us earlier in this week when we asked you to do some radio commentary when our satellite had problems. Let's stay with us, though. It's 15-42 set points for Sampras.
Well, you heard Gilbert just about 4 points ago, so you got to start going for a few shots. And he has, but he's still down a set point.
Big serve from Gilbert, and that keeps him in this game. It has not been easy for him. You know, he likes to be at the counter puncher, but Sampras has been so vicious in both serve and ground strokes that it's been difficult for him to stay in it. Deuce. Two-set points saved by Brad Gilbert. When we come back, Pete Sampras will serve for the second set to try to go up by 2-0. Such an outstanding U.S. Open is now in a position to serve for the second set and go up 2-0.
And Gilbert is going to make him wait a little bit. Gilbert taking his time. He's the experienced campaigner. An hour and 8 minutes this match has been in progress.
If Sampras wins this game, it'll be virtually the same scores in the first 2 sets that he beat Andre Agassi in the final of the U.S. Open. That was 6-4, 6-3, 6-2.
Good depth again, sets up this shot, and he just hasn't made any mistakes on that forehand today, and he's generating his own pace off that shot, and that is the toughest one to play. You can use somebody's pace effectively on the forehand, but to generate your own, that's the toughest thing to do.
He also beat John McEnroe, Yvonne Lendl, and Thomas Muster at the Open. 15 love. Sampras started here over Andrei Cherkasov of the Soviet Union. Very tight match. Same thing against Goran Ivanisevic. He handled Michael Chang easily yesterday in straight sets, though. 3 set points.
He's had a couple of victories this week. He had not beaten Ivanisevic before, and then had not beaten Michael Chang since his pro days.
Pete Sampras has won the second set. 2 sets to love for the U.S. Open champ. Boy, it is. I don't know. You have to feel for Brad Gilbert. You knew that he was going to be the man who'd be on the receiving end of some outstanding stuff from Sampras if Sampras was playing well and had mobility. It looks like both of those things, well, they have been true, and it looks like they can stay true.
I wonder right now if Gilbert is suffering some kind of cramps. He has stretched. He's gotten into a crouch in that last game, and now he's shaking out his legs a little bit in the start of this game. Again, he's cramped twice this week. He contends that he's match shy. He's out of shape.
Double fault, first point, set 3.
That's Gilbert's only double fault of the match.
See him walking around like that.
Love 30.
He's at every line on the court, Sampras. Gilbert looks up into the skies. Say, well, what am I to do here? It's a good serve this time, straight at the body, but he just steps out of the way, and look how close to the line that shot was.
Of the tickets were sold for this event, though not everyone has come to it. The promoters think it's a combination of the Christmas season and the controversy surrounding this thing.
Well, one of the main reasons is they sold a block of 2,000 seats to a tour operator, and there was an American airline that was going to come over here, and they pulled out the last minute, so that's the reason there are quite a few vacant seats here, but those seats have been sold, so it's a sellout here today.
15:42 break points for Pete Sampras, and Sampras is very much in the driver's seat. How about the fact that Becker's not playing here, or Agassi for that matter? That hurts. John McEnroe also didn't show. All of them qualified. But it has honestly been a
great event, and you make a new superstar out of a young U.S. Open champion. Or it appears as though it's going to be that way at this stage of the match.
One break point saved. 30-40.
30-40.
Gilbert comes through when the chips are down. 2 break points in the opening game of the third set. That would have been very difficult for him to come back from. Finds that big serve here and gets the short or the high reply. An easy put away.
Deuce.
This is just very mature play from a youngster. Gets into the net by way of a very solid backhand approach. Makes no mistake with the overhead.
Third break point of this game. First game, third set.
This final is best of 5 sets. Gilbert's come from 2 sets down 4 times in his career in 5-setters, including his last 2 5-setters prior to this Grand Slam Cup. His career, as far as 5 sets are concerned, 5-set record is 10 and 11. He's won 10 and lost 11. It's a long way home from 2 sets to love down, though.
Brad Gilbert in all kinds of trouble. 3 break points in that first game of the third set, but he holds on. 1 game to love, down 2 sets to love. And Slam Cup on the Olympia Halle.
Cumulative stats for the first 2 sets. Pete Sampras there at 63% on serve. Gilbert 60%, so that's pretty good serving. 8 aces to 7, and again the winners 39 to 30. So Gilbert's picked it up in that department, and Sampras has made more than twice as many errors as Gilbert has. Hour and 11 minutes the first 2 sets took. Well, Sampras questioning that call, and he lost 5 points, a total of 5 points in the second set.
What's it, Mary?
I just think Pete liked his serve, and I guess Gilbert concedes it as well.
Gilbert gave it to him.
Very nice.
Gilbert gave it to him. Bruno Ribot did not overrule that.
Very nice. Played for $1 million. Well done. The Bears and the Lions tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, live here from the Silverdome. Continuing coverage of Sunday night NFL football. Another big serve from Pete Sampras. 40. What did he serve? Over 100 aces in the U.S. Open?
100 exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. 13 in the final.
He served 9, that's 10 now in this match. 3 aces in this game. One game all now in the third set. Sampras leading it 2 sets to love. Just a look at Kim Gilbert there. Certainly going to be a little worried at this stage of proceedings.
she was worried yesterday in the 5-setter over Wheaton when it got really ugly there with these two. And she said she just couldn't wait for that match to be over.
Yeah, I imagine. Had a long conversation with Andre Agassi last night. We've been trying to get a hold of him to get his side of the story. He's horrified about the accusation in the world press as you watch this replay, really all around the world, implying that he faked the Davis Cup injury in St. Petersburg 2 weeks ago to justify his decision to stay out of this event. What he's really upset about, though, is the restaurant incident in which Barry Lodge, who is a very respected tennis writer, overheard Agassi and his brother Phil going on about Agassi's strategy for staying out of the cup here. Again, the implication being that Agassi had faked the injury and, you know, to have a good cause not to play here. Well, Agassi said that Lodge admitted that he didn't overhear the whole conversation and really got it wrong. He says his brother Phil said to him, do you realize that everyone is going to think that you faked the injury? And so they were considering what to do. And one of the things they could do was do what the ATP Tour asked him to do, which is come here to Munich and appear and let physicians take a look at him and make sure that he really was in fact injured. The other thing that they decided to do was to go to see Dr. Westbrook, who has seen Agassi in the past a couple of occasions, which is also what they did. Westbrook is a friend of the trainer Gil Reyes, you know, who's his coach. And he lives in El Paso, and he diagnosed basically the same thing that the doctor in St. Petersburg had diagnosed minutes after Agassi walked off the court. So he confirmed the diagnosis. In fact, it's going to be a couple of weeks before Agassi will be able to start training again, he said. And he really said he had nothing to gain by getting injured. And the idea that the injury was a fake is just, as I said, horrifying to him. He had to pull out of 3 big money exhibition matches last week in which Pete Sampras, as a matter of fact, took his place. So to suggest that he was not actually injured, he says, is ridiculous. 30-40, this is break point for Pete Sampras. I must say, I thought at the time that the injury happened that it was a legitimate injury, and I still feel that way. The man that benefited from all of that is Brad Gilbert. When Agassi pulled out, it was Brad Gilbert who got into this championship, and he has made $1 million.
He's down a break point now, though.
Right.
Break point and 2 sets to love down. 30-40.
Oh. And there is the break on a double fault. Pete Sampras has got 2 sets to love and 2 games to 1 with a break in set 3. To the Olympia Halle in Munich. I'm Cliff Drysdale with Fred Stolle and Mary Carrillo. We're covering the final best of 5 sets of the Grand Slam Cup from Munich. It is Pete Sampras of the USA, the US Open champ. He's playing against Brad Gilbert, also of the USA. We're in set number 3. 2 sets to love for Sampras and a break. This is Sampras serving at 2 games to 1.
Looks as though Gilbert is going to change tactics here, down a break in the 3rd set. He looks, if Sampras can only miss a couple of first serves, it will allow Gilbert some room to breathe, where he may be able to get to the net on a couple of occasions. But ace number 11 from the Sampras racket.
To come in, hasn't he? Yeah. He's got to change his game plan, and there's nobody better at doing that than Gilbert.
But you've got to wait for Sampras to miss some serves, first serves. That's the tough part. This is a big game for Sampras because he has just broken serve. Try to consolidate. An overrule there from Bruno Ribot. So they will play 2.
you just said. 30 all.
Not much he can do. Gilbert just yelled out to Sampras, quit hitting aces in just a friendly gesture. He said he's just not giving him an opportunity to even get into the match. It's exactly the way he played against Chang yesterday. A lot of the players would use a little bit of gamesmanship there when somebody's serving. It used to be a ploy in the old days when you had someone rifling serves down every changeover. You'd say, gee, you're serving well. Can't believe how well you're serving. And next time you'd go around, you'd think about it. You think, God, I am serving pretty good.
Oh, I think Pete Sampras knows exactly how well he's serving. NCAA basketball doubleheader on Wednesday night. First, Doug Smith leads Missouri against Illinois, and then Princeton up against national champ UNLV. Wednesday night, 7:30 Eastern Time, live coverage here on ESPN. Doubleheader. Enjoy that and enjoy the rest of this match. And the Bears and the Lions tonight on NFL football.
How well has Pete Sampras been serving? Well, there it is. 14 aces to 9. And Brad Gilbert says, well, I hope that's contagious. He wants a few more. But Sampras has served 3 aces in his last 2 service games. 3 in each game.
3 games to 1, Sampras, 15 all. 2 sets to love, Sampras. Oh. When he's playing well, which I think you will see, which I know you will see a lot more frequently, there's not much you can do against this guy.
That's confidence, Cliff, and he had that confident look at the Open, and he could do anything, and he is that way in the last couple of days here, and everything he is trying is working.
Crucial stages of the match here for Brad Gilbert. He has got to hang on. The second break is served here, and that should do it. $50 winners against 34 from Pete Sampras, of course, on top in that column.
Oh! 25 of those winners have come from the big serve of Pete Sampras, the 14 aces, and then obviously another 11 unplayable serves. You get 25 cheap points like that, Cliff. That's a set. That's 6 games. That's a big start.
So Brad Gilbert, not without difficulty, hangs on. He's a break down and 2 sets down. We'll be back. It was just a show here in this tournament. $6 million in all. 300 to get through 1 round, as you see. 2 million to win the whole thing, and $1 million to get to the final. You are watching the final between Pete Sampras and Brad Gilbert. We're in the 3rd set. Sampras has 2 sets to nothing and leads 3-2 with a break in the 3rd. Mary, some thoughts from you on the Andre Agassi story?
Well, I mean, I salute you, Cliff, for your total lack of cynicism about Andre Agassi. I don't find myself equal to that. I mean, just too often in the past, Agassi has acted so contemptuous of the game and of the process. He's got a terrible reputation with the press. And even I spoke to 2 players here this week who both used the same word to describe Agassi's action. And that was typical. I mean, so he's got this cry wolf reputation of, you know, pulling up lame in matches and not going to things and not honoring his commitments. And what I really think is that he can prove his injury, and that he'll probably just be slapped around with some meaningless fines. I don't think he'll be suspended from a Grand Slam event now. And I did think so in the beginning of the week, but it really seems as though this Grand Slam committee has lost its teeth, or perhaps they have been convinced from the Agassi doctors that this injury is legitimate.
Barry, the point is that injury really was never, and not even considered by the committee, because all they consider is the fact that he pulled out of this championship after signing on, which he shouldn't have done. And that's really all they can do.
Well, I don't think so, Cliff. The Grand Slam, well, I disagree with you, but I also feel that if Agassi lamed out on a Davis Cup match, then he is not only hurting this tournament, he's hurting Davis Cup.
Well, true, but that's not a question for the Grand Slam committee. That's a question for the Davis Cup committee.
I think it is. I still think it's involved, Cliffy. If he's using what is not a real injury to get out of this thing, I think you've got to consider that.
Oh, I don't think it's not a real injury is the point I'm making, and that's what he confirmed again to me last night. You obviously think it was a fake injury, and the implication from all, as I said, press people around the world is that it is. I just don't buy that. I think he was genuinely injured. I see no reason, and he told me last night, no reason for him. He only lost by doing it. And logic indicates that that's the case. He lost a lot of money and obviously credibility. But anyway, let's get back to this match. It's 40-30 here for Sampras. He's serving to go up 4 games to 2.
He's a little behind average in this game, Sampras. He's only served 2 aces in this service game. He served 3 and he's fired 2 service games. So let's see what happens here.
Didn't need an ace on that one. He came through with a big forehand down the line, and he has a 4-game-to-2 lead in the 3rd set, 2 sets to love. This is an awesome display of tennis, Fred. I mean, it's not, it's really all one way, isn't it?
This forehand, Cliff, down the line, he strikes this very flat, and that has been a big shot for him. Look, he just gets it up there, and he flicks the ball down. He says, this is just a routine day for me, and I'm just playing so confidently. Nothing's going to phase me out right now.
Is there any way back, Mary, for Bradley Gilbert at this point?
He's got no say in this match.
No.
I mean, and I can't imagine that 2 sets down at a break, somehow he's going to be able to rearrange that situation.
He reminds me a little bit of Rosewall to the point. Watch this forehand and you'll see what I mean. He gets it, he nails this one across. Now, Ken Rosewall used to do the same thing. He'd hit one, then he'd just drop his head down, look down, and look as though he's looking for a dime on the court and walk across to receive serve on the other side. Sampras the same. Shows no emotion when he hits those great shots.
Looking for a little bit more than a dime, too.
Yeah,
Sampras, Fred, speaks often about how he used to watch tapes of the great Laver-Rosewall rivalries. A bunch of those matches he's pretty much committed to memories, especially the old ones at WCTs in Dallas.
15-all. He was a big fan of Rod Laver, wasn't he?
All the players of that era.
Yeah. Down to the wire time again here for Brad Gilbert. He is down a break. He has just got to somehow hang on because he's good at that. But if he loses another serve in this set, that will be all, she wrote. 30-all.
He just can't do it any better.
No, and it's done so classically. I mean, what style he's got.
Bunts that one, and then the full swing here. You see that head of the racket go all the way. Short block return, and then the follow through on the passing shot. Textbook stuff.
So the man who suffered from shin splints and blisters and all kinds of other ailments. No, not all kinds. That was it. He's playing so well.
Look at that.
The second break serve for Pete Sampras. And when we come back, You will watch a man for the first time in history serve for $1 million. Along with the 5-1 Fred Stolle, Mary Carrillo's at courtside. We are enjoying this match alongside you. It's been very one-sided, hasn't it? January 21 to January 26. From Australia, Melbourne, Flinders Park. We will also be down there enjoying the latter stages, the second week of the Australian Open Tennis Championship. So from Munich, Germany, it is back home for the holiday season and Christmas, for which we all wish you a very happy holiday season, by the way.
Warm weather.
And then on to Australia in January.
Sampras has been successful on both first and second serves. Look at this percentage. Oh, as soon as I say that, he comes up with a double fault, serving for the match. That's his only double fault today. But he's got a winning. He's 76% of points on first serve and 68% of points on second serve. That's pretty good tennis. Well, he had $1 million swing last night and won it, and he's heading for another shot at it, Cliff.
Yeah, I said $1 million. It's the difference of $1 million. Of course, he will take home $2 million if he wins this game. He's already got $1 million. So does Gilbert. Match point. Championship point. Little smile maybe from Sampras. What a moment for him. I bet he can hardly contain himself. Yeah. He knows this is over.
This is history for our sport right here.
Sampras of the USA, 19 years old, US Open champion, is now also the Grand Slam Cup champion and $2 million. Richard, Fred, not a lot to say about it. It's a pity that the match wasn't closer, but what an effort.
Fantastic effort. And Pete, you think that he's just won a regular tournament and he's going to go and just go home and have a burger and go to bed, but he's just such a delightful fellow, and there's his brother, Gus, but it won't change his life, and that's the nice part about Pete Sampras. He played some exceptional tennis this week. He got more confident as the week went on, and the last 2 days, Cliff, that serve, what can I say, 16 aces in this match, and I think it was 15 yesterday.
Terrific stuff. Mary, what does it mean for the future of tennis, this escalation in the prize money that we've seen here? $2 million to one man for this week's $6 million for the week. Is that the way we're headed?
I sure hope not. I think it is a little out of control. I mean, once a year is different from. I mean, it's not going to happen all over the place. The Compaq Grand Slam Cup committee was asked about. They are not raising the prize money next year. I mean, it's not like it's just going to keep going crazy, but surely it's a remarkable amount of dough.
Puts some pressure, doesn't it, on other tournaments to get a little bit higher in comparison, though. We'll be back with the closing ceremonies when we come back. A Halle crowd here in Munich has watched a match.
This is the way I went into the year, especially
as
I came back.
They have watched a match that was very interesting. The closing ceremonies are going on, so let's go downstairs.
Performance of your opponent, Brad Gilbert. Well, I thought he was a bit tired today because he had a long 5-set match with David Wheaton. And it's tough to recover from that, and I was fresh.
That's a translation.
Huh?
That's a translation.
Okay.
They are translating his
Brad Gilbert, we have lost the final, but you have won $1 million. You must be very content here in Munich.
I've had worse days. My opponent just played too good for me. He's a credit to the game, and he's putting American tennis where it belongs, right on top.
What do you say about the Compaq Grand Slam Cup here in Munich? It's first time here, about the town, about the organization, about the tournament.
A lot of questions. First of all, I think it's a great city. My wife loves it shopping here. And the tournament organization is unbelievable. This tournament is second to none. It was a pleasure just for them to let me play here. And I'd just like to thank everybody that was involved, especially the tournament director and the ITF and Compaq, and just for letting me play here. This is the highlight of my career.
Okay, many thanks to both players, and hope to see you again next year here in Munich.
Well, you heard at least some from both of the finalists there, including winner Pete Sampras, who beat Brad Gilbert in straight sets to become the first Compaq Grand Slam Cup champion. We'll be back with more coverage from Munich after this. Here in Munich, Germany, and let's go down now to courtside where the players are ready to make their acceptance speeches.
Finalteilnehmer, unterlegener Finalist, Brad Gilbert, USA.
Once again, I'd like to thank the tournament director, Axel, for doing an unbelievable job. The organization this week was just a credit to the tournament, and I'd like to thank the ITF and Compaq's computers for running this event. And I'd like to give also the boys over here standing there, this great opportunity for me to play. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me, and I came here expecting just to be the alternate for 50 grand, and I ended up with $1 million. It's not too bad of a week for me. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Und nun der Sieger, winner of the first Compaq Grand Slam Cup, Pete Sampras, USA.
Well, I'd also like to thank the ITF committee for doing a fine job all week, Compaq and the Grand Slam Cup. It was a really enjoyable week, and this is something I've always wanted to do. Is when I win a lot of money, I like to donate a couple. When you win a couple $1 million, you might as well give some of it away. So, on behalf of my father, whose 2 sisters passed away of cerebral palsy, I'd like to donate $250,000 to that foundation.
Pete Sampras.
Pete Sampras is the winner in straight sets over Brad Gilbert. He has earned $2 million. And when we come back, Mary Carrillo will talk to them both.
4 Tagen, 5 Tagen Spitzentennis gekommen sind. Wir wünschen Ihnen fröhliche Weihnachten.
Halle in Munich today was the site of what was nearly a massacre of one player by the other. Pete Sampras over Brad Gilbert in straight sets in an outstanding display, Fred Stolle, of tennis for all 3 sets, really.
Quite remarkable, Cliff. Pete Sampras was down break point in his opening service game. After that, he got through that. After that, he served 13 service games, lost 17 points in total in those 3 sets. A remarkable performance by a superstar in the making.
So that lob was wide that you just saw from Brad Gilbert. And the young 19-year-old who won the U.S. Open is also now $2 million richer. He doesn't seem to pay too much attention to the money, though, Fred, does he?
Incredible, Cliff. You know, just to win the tournament, the Grand Slam Cup, he didn't show much emotion at all. I thought he'd be jumping up and down, doing a couple of knee jumps there, but a very cool, calm and collected young fellow, and has his thoughts together, obviously, and very happy to be there.
So he's won now the U.S. Open. He's also won the Grand Slam Cup and all the money that attends that, Fred. What does this mean for next year in 1991 for Pete Sampras? Is he going to be a real major contender for every Grand Slam championship except, say, the French?
I don't think he will be for the French, Cliff. I think he's got a couple of years' experience to go down there, but certainly on the faster surfaces, I think he's going to have to go over and play a couple of grass court tournaments before he just goes straight into play Wimbledon, because it's a different type of game. The ball stays a lot lower on the grass, but anything where the ball gets up around waist high and he can get a good crack at it, he's getting better and better off the ground, isn't he?
He sure is. Now, the man that he played against, Brad Gilbert, I don't think you could hardly call him a loser. He made $1 million. He's with Mary Carrillo at courtside.
Brad, we were saying that Pete Sampras wasn't even giving you much a say in that match. Is that how you felt out there?
Well, the first 3 games he served, you know, I had some chances. First game I had a break point, and then after that, his serve picked up, and then it enabled him to take more chances on the return game, and I really felt helpless from the middle of the second set on.
How tired were you? Pete thought that you were tired. He said so.
I thought more than being tired, I just was really sore. I played Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, there's no excuses in that. I could have easily gone and played a great match. But one thing that was difficult for me is playing 5 sets last night. And usually in slams, when you play 5 sets, you get a day off. But I only got about 3 hours sleep. I was a little antsy this morning, but the guy played too good. You know, I don't know if I could have had 6 days rest and been ready for what he had for me today. As I heard people say before, that's just too much game.
Well, talk about Pete Sampras. I mean, you've played every top guy. What about this kid?
Well, a couple things that you can't teach. One is he's got Borg like ice water in his veins. You know, I mean, he won $2 million and he was totally calm. I mean, he's very relaxed, and I think that's why his game is going to be. I mean, really has opportunity to win a lot on fast courts, especially hard court, Supreme, grass. I mean, I expect him to be a solid favorite to win Wimbledon next year. I think the only thing is he just has to stay focused. You know, like you said, after the Open, he didn't play as well, but he's hitting the ball as well as anybody in the world right now off the ground, and I don't think he was doing that a year ago, and unquestionably, it's the best serve I've ever faced.
Wow, that says a lot. I mean, there's a lot of big servers out there.
I mean, there's a lot of big servers, but he not only is a big server, he's an acing server. And the thing is, not only is he a big server, he does not have to serve and volley like on his second serve. You know, he can stay back. And I think that enables him to, you know, take more chances on the return game. When you can hit, you know, 20 aces in a 3-set match, and you know, like when you're a little tired, you can, you know, reel back and hit some big serves. You could take more chances on your return game.
Brad, you said that Pete was so calm winning $2 million. You won $1 million. How calm are you?
Probably not as calm as him winning $2 million, man. I'm a happy guy, but I wish I could have performed a little better for the people today because, you know, I played well all week, and I don't know if I played well. I played ugly to get here, but I was here, and I wish I could have hit a few more, at least, you know, just been a little more competitive. But on this day, he had too much game for me.
All right, well, congratulations getting here, Brad.
Freddie, what would you have done today? That's all I want to know. What would you have done?
Well, Brad, I don't think I'd have done anything differently than you did, mate. You tried your darndest out there, but some days when you get out of bed and you play against a guy like that who does not let you into the match at all, you feel as though you should have stayed in bed.
He made $1 million, though, Fred, and he has a lot of praise for Pete Sampras. He says he's going to be the favourite to win Wimbledon next year. Do you go along with that?
I don't know whether he's going to be favourite to win Wimbledon, Cliff. As I explained, with the grass courts, I think he's going to have a little more practice on grass. I saw him play over there this year at Queen's Club, but definitely on a court where the ball bounces up around waist high, he's going to be dangerous. But he can learn to play on grass because he hits the ball flat. He doesn't mind the low bouncing ball.
Well, the man we're talking about is Mr. Pete Sampras, the winner here of $2 million. When we come back, we will go back down to Mary Carrillo and listen to her talking to him in a moment. Compaq Grand Slam Cup in straight sets over Brad Gilbert is Pete Sampras, and he is downstairs with Mary Carrillo.
Congratulations, Pete. Another remarkable performance from you in a final. Just how good did you feel out there today?
You know, I felt very similar in the way I did against Agassi at the U.S. Open. Anything I hit was going in, and when that's happening, I played great, and that's what happened.
You sure showed a lot of reservations coming into this match with your blisters. How hurt were you? We sure couldn't tell.
It wasn't bad today. It was a bit sore, but, you know, once you start getting into a match, all that stuff goes away. So as far as my movement was concerned, I thought it was pretty good. But on the other hand, I think Brad was a bit tired after playing a long five-setter with David, and he wasn't moving as well as he would like. So, you know, everything's worked out for me this week.
Apart from all the cash you've won, you beat Chang, whom you've never beaten before, and now Brad Gilbert. I mean, that must do a lot for you, huh?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more satisfying beating Michael because, I mean, I've just been really competitive with him all my life, and you know, I just had a really fun week. You know, it wasn't too much pressure. I mean, there's a lot of money at stake, but you know, I just had a great time.
You were speaking earlier this week about the fact that your shin splints might cause some problems for the Australian Open. What are you going to do now? Just rest?
Yeah, I'm going to go home and rest, and that's it. I'm going to go to Australia quite early to play the Hopman Cup and the Australian Open, which is a tournament I want to do well at. So, I mean, I've got to rest because I've had a very long year, and I'm 19. I don't want, you know, anything worse to happen to my body because it's not very positive when I'm hurt, especially at this age.
You had a beautiful gesture when you donated $250,000 in honor of your father. Can you talk about that?
Well, something my father and I have dreamt about. I mean, just when I was 13, 14 years old growing up, he would say, you know, Pete, one of these days, if you do something big or make a lot of money, I'd like to donate some money to the Cerebral Palsy Foundation, which his two sisters passed away. And, you know, it was just a nice gesture, and it was something that was on behalf of my father, and it was great.
Did he know you were going to do it?
You know, we've talked about it, but I don't think he knew I was actually going to do it. But, you know, once I get up there on the microphone, I thought it was a very nice gesture.
It sure was. Are your parents, we know during the U.S. Open, your parents couldn't even watch you play. Do you think they watched you play today? I mean, are they getting over this? Are they getting used to you playing on television now?
Well, when I called my sister at home when my match with Chang was on, my parents weren't home. I mean, they still, you know, it's just the way they are. Maybe it's superstition or maybe it's nervous. It's probably both. You know, they just get very nervous because, you know, they've seen me work so hard all my life, and it's just, I mean, that's the way they are, and that's fine.
It sure is. What about 1991 now? You must, having played the kind of year you've played, have your goals shifted a lot? Have you had to accelerate the process of your goal making now?
Well, one thing is for sure, I can't let all this money and all this media and all this publicity really get to my head. It's just, you know, remain the same, work hard. You know, I like to do well at Wimbledon, which I haven't done well before, to put a good showing at the U.S. Open, and to, you know, remain in the top 5 in the world, and hopefully in a couple years I can become the #1 player in the world. But, you know, with the competition it is now, it's going to be very difficult.
All right. Pete Sampras, congratulations. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary and Pete. A nice gesture, Fred, from him rather to do that. It is so nice. It makes you feel proud, really, that a tennis professional that young can come up with $250,000 out of his prize money. That's as much as you get, close to as much as you get for winning a Grand Slam.
It certainly is, and a great gesture, and I'm sure that his family are very proud of him, Cliff. And also, he's still got his feet on the ground as far as his tennis career is concerned. He talks about trying to work hard and stay in the top 5. And he said, there's 4 good fellas ahead of me, and, you know, maybe 2 or 3 years. So he's got those size 11s or whatever they are firmly on the ground still.
Let's talk mechanics, Fred. You must enjoy the way that he plays because, frankly, your game was kind of similar. I mean, you were a serve and volley player. Then you saw so many of the ground strokers, the guys who hit with so much topspin, who really were the kings of tennis for a long time. But guys like Pete Sampras, Stefan Edberg have turned that around, and it looks like this is a trend that's going to stay.
Well, I think sports always go in cycles, Cliff. I think you go back to when we were serve and volley artists, and they didn't like that. They wanted to see more rallies, and then they saw more rallies in which more topspin, and the balls got heavier, and they let the grass grow longer at Wimbledon in order to facilitate that. Now it's in that same mode again. It's the serve and volley. So the kids now that are just starting to play the game will want to play like Pete Sampras, and I think that's great for the sport.
Is that what you would tell a young kid who'd come to you, Fred? Is that what you tell Sandon Stolly? Say, I want you to play the big serve and volley game?
Well, my son plays pretty much the same sort of game. He's 6'5" and hits them all over the place, but he's starting to get a few more in. But definitely I think the kids are going to play that way for the next 10 years, and then it'll move into another mode again.
And the best part about it is that it is nice to watch, isn't it? Grand Slam Cup, the winner, Pete Sampras, in straight sets over Brad Gilbert, and he took home a cool $2 million. We'll be back. You have been watching the Compaq Grand Slam Cup from Munich, Germany, inside the Olympic Halle. $2 million today, won by Pete Sampras over Brad Gilbert. So he is a man who obviously is going to be very happy. Fred, let's talk about this championship, though. The Grand Slam Cup and the Compaq Grand Slam Cup for the very first time. To me, it has been a success. The crowds were not as good as they could be. I think that will improve. The field, of course, could also have been better, but I as well think that will improve. How do you see it all?
Well, you've just answered all the questions there. I agree with you entirely. I think when the tournament was announced, there was some problems with it. I think they're all gone by the wayside. If you had a look at the presentation down there and saw the presidents of the 4 Grand Slam tournaments, or the fellows involved with those associations, they all look pretty happy, and I definitely think it's here to stay. I honestly feel that in the next couple of years, hopefully that the arguments in our sport will be all settled, and this will become a great event.
Possibly even a combination of the ATP Tour World Championship and this one. Mary, what are your thoughts on this championship and how it turned out, the success of it all?
I agree with a lot of what you guys were saying, and you know I hate to agree with you, but I do. I also think that in the next couple of years, almost all the top players will play. Only a guy like Boris Becker, I think, it would be so strong in his philosophies and his political problems with this thing that he wouldn't play. I think every other player can be bought, frankly. I do think it will become a big event.
Of course, Mary, that depends, doesn't it, on the fact that the ITF and the ATP stay at war, which may not happen. How about the Australian Open, Fred? I know you're looking forward to going down there. You're going to spend a few days extra before our coverage begins. Who are you going to pick in that championship, Fred, and why?
Well, I think it's very open, Cliff. The Australian, it's on a different surface. It's a similar surface to the US Open. It's called Rebound Ace. It's a rubberized surface. The ball gets up very high. I think Sampras has got to be given a shot down there. Lendl, Edberg. There's 3 or 4 fellas. I'm going to be like you. I'm going to sit on the fence for a while until I get down there and see how the boys are playing.
All right, I'm going to make a very definitive statement, Fred, and that is that I think Stefan Edberg is going to win it. I certainly think that Pete Sampras is a contender. So, of course, is Ivan Lendl. How about Boris Becker and the rest of them? But what do you think, Mary?
Well, I think I know that Ivan Lendl very much wants to defend. He's a 2-time winner there, and he was speaking this week about how much it means to him to go down there and defend the Australian. Boris Becker has never given himself a realistic shot at the Australian because he knows he's never really worked hard enough to get to the Australian, so he's always lost kind of early there. So I have a feeling he'll be very hungry to try to start off 1991 with a Grand Slam win because he went this whole year without a win. Pete Sampras, I mean, how can you ignore that kid, the way he's playing? I mean, surely he could do some damage there. As far as the women go, Steffi Graf is the only player this year, the only player at the very top who played in all 4 Grand Slam events. They mean an awful lot to her, so I'd give her the slight nod on the women's side, Cliff.
Thanks very much, Mary. I'm going to go along with you as far as the ladies are concerned. I think Steffi Graf is going to make something of a comeback this year. What do you think, Fred?
We all agree. I can't believe that. That's twice in the last 5 minutes we've all agreed. There's something going wrong here, but there's also a lot of depth in women's tennis. There's a good field going down there too. Monica Seles has got to have a shot down there. Mary Jo Fernandez was a finalist last year. There's the depth in women's tennis is getting to be like the men.
How about the surface, Fred? When are you guys going to wake up and change that rather sticky surface, especially when it's as hot as it is down there?
Well, that's a good question, because it did cause a few problems last year, but it cost a lot of money to put down, and the problem with it, it's gone from the National Tennis Centre to all the other states. It's gone to New South Wales, it's gone to Victoria and the other states, and the warm-up tournaments before the Australian Open are played on the Rebound Ace surface, so I think it'll be a while before they do anything else.
So it is the Rebound Ace surface. It is at Flinders Park in Melbourne, Australia. 21 to 26 is when our coverage of that championship will take place. The Australian Open on ESPN in January. We'll be back to wrap up our show from Munich in a moment. USA, the winner today over Brad Gilbert, also of the USA, in straight sets. It was an awesome display of tennis, and our coverage has been brought to you by the Compaq line of high-performance personal computers and personal computer systems. By Bud Light, everything else is just a light. And by Subaru, we built our reputation by building a better car. Our next tennis on ESPN will be down under from Flinders Park in Melbourne, Australia. It's the 1991 Australian Open. 6 days of coverage starting on the 21st. Next up on ESPN, America's Wilderness, the Hawaii International Ocean Challenge. From all of us at ESPN, the production crew that travels the world, and what they loosely call talent in our business, Mary Carrillo, Fred Stolley, and I, Cliff Drysdale, we wish you the very happiest of holidays this Christmas season. From Munich, goodbye to everybody.